Dog, you need to hear this story about a couple who proclaimed their marriage vows so long ago. They've forgotten what it's like to be ordinary. Victor Van Allen is the kind of guy who's always working hard, and his wife Melinda, poor thing, feels neglected. So they came up with this original way out. She is having affairs on the side, and he pretends not to notice anything. As they say, to each his own. But here began the strangeness, and her lovers as on command began to disappear one by one. What kind of tricks happen in their marriage, and who marks these gentlemen? This you will find out if you wait until the end of the video. In the meantime, enjoy. So, Vic and Melinda Van Allen seem like the perfect couple. Raising their little girl Trixie, home, comfort, the works. But this time, they're going to a party, and Melinda's all excited. The doorbell rings, the babysitter comes in, Vic nods politely and stomps upstairs. And there's his wife in the bedroom, such a tomboy, choosing a dress for the evening and asking for his help with the choice. Our Vic is not confused, chose an outfit and even helped her try on shoes, which he recently brought her from New York. Such a romantic. Melinda casually asks him if he knows she loves him as he carefully ties her straps. They're so in good spirits rushing to the party, Vic helping her with her coat. They're having a glass of champagne, chatting sweetly with the guests, even managing to chat about parenting. People around are a little shocked by the way they treat the freedom of morals, but our heroes stand on their own, not going to merge with anyone. But Melinda is bored until her old pal Joel shows up. Well, Vic sees him too, and notices that his wife is suddenly sagging somehow. He grabs a drink and starts patrolling the hall looking for their couple. And Mel didn't hesitate to lead Joel out of the hall, right into the courtyard where the music was playing. Vic creeps over to the window, and what does he see? His wife and Joel kissing right there in full view of everyone. Melinda senses his gaze, pierces it through the glass, but continues the embrace. Vic can't take it anymore. And then some chick comes up to him and starts gossiping about Melinda and Joel at the pool. She is shocked by the behavior of his buddy's wife and decides to educate Vic about Melinda's cheating. But our hero doesn't care. And then Melinda makes a show. Drank too much and starts to burn off, dances on the piano, as if for him alone arranged a number. And after the party, when Vic runs into Joel, who wants to thank him for his hospitality and for the opportunity to be a close friend of his wife Vic, starts telling him a story about someone named Marty, who was friends with Melinda before Joel. Joel finds this odd. He's heard of the guy, but doesn't believe Vic could have anything to do with his disappearance. But Vic responds by simply stating that he finished him off. Realizing that he'd better leave, Joel decides to leave the party as soon as possible. And get this, Mel starts asking Vic what happened to Joel. Vic doesn't want to talk about it, and asks her to get in the car. And there, on the way home, she finds a bitten apple in the glove box and holds it out to her husband. And at home, while Vic is paying off the babysitter, Melinda performs a striptease in the kitchen, which stumps both the girl and her husband. After sending the babysitter away, Vic helps his wife undress, and they begin to discuss their relationship. Mel says that despite her lover's stupidity, she feels comfortable with him, and asks her husband to close the doors behind her. The next morning, Vic goes off to look at his snails. He's got a whole farm there. At breakfast, he chats with Trixie, who is picking at her school experiments. Then he takes her to her lessons. And then it's lunch with his friends, and everyone's talking about how windy Melinda is. And then she makes a scene with Vic, saying he treated Joel badly and should apologize to him. Vic doesn't seem to mind, so Joel arrives at their house for dinner. Joel is laying out the cards. He's allergic to seafood, so Vic is cooking something special. Joel chats about going to another city, and Melinda glows with happiness and promises to visit. And then she unashamedly grabs a sandwich from him and swallows it in front of everyone. Vic reminisces about their first date, but the conversation descends into an argument. Melinda sends Vic to read Trixie's bedtime story, and she leaves to entertain Joel. She and her daughter read, chatting about her mom. But when Vic comes downstairs, he sees Melinda having fun with Joel. He starts raging with the dishes to get their attention. Melinda comes into the kitchen to get alcohol for Joel and asks Vic to take it to her. But instead of apologizing, Vic informs Joel that his cab has arrived and throws him right out into the street. And then there's a new party, and the Van Allens meet writer Don Wilson and his family. Don begins to rebuke Vic for his work on military chips, saying it's unethical, but Vic's friends don't support him and brush off the accusations. Melinda and her daughter go off to dance, and Vic watches them having fun. Then the writer's wife, Kelly, comes up, compliments Melinda, and Vic, out of the blue, asks her to dance. This was a real highlight for his friends, because Vic usually stays away from such entertainment. Well, it's been a night of surprises, hasn't it? Sit down, I'll tell you more. You're gonna love it. Dude, now listen to what happened next. On the way home, Melinda starts talking about Vic's dance with Kelly. You think out of the blue? No. She senses that her husband likes her. She gets jealous, but she does it so sweetly, smiles, and suddenly decides to brush her teeth on the road. And Vic, is even happy about it. At home, of course, they got themselves a real storm, if you know what I mean. Then, midweek, they go to Trixie's soccer game, and then Vic gets a call from the bank. They say Melinda wants to wire $3,000 to someone named Charles Delilah for piano lessons. This doesn't please Vic. So he decides to find out who this musician is, and goes to the bar where Charles is performing. Just then, he sees Melinda dating this piano player. The guy gets upset and goes home. And there his daughter and the babysitter are already waiting for him, playing poker. Then Melinda comes back, all weirded out, and Vic asks where she's been. She blurts out something about a new friend and drinking too much. Vic helps her undress and drops, as if in passing, that Martin McCrane, the missing lover, is dead. This shocks her badly. Next, Trixie and Vic pick up a puppy from the shelter, emotions running high, naming him Roger. As they drive home, Vic notices a pianist walking by with a bouquet of tulips, the same ones he saw at home. Then, he meets a buddy at the bar where Charles is playing. He compliments the guy on his piano playing, and Vic confesses that Charles teaches Melinda to play nightly. While Vic tends to his snails, Melinda enjoys time in the car with her new buddy and wants to try new things with him. Melinda isn't home at night, and when she returns, Vic starts to interrogate where she's been. They fight. Melinda tries to get some feelings out of him, but Vic stands like a stone wall. He tries to forbid her from seeing her new buddy, but she ignores his words. And then Charlie shows up at the new party. Melinda introduces him to everyone as her dear friend, and he plays the piano. While Charles is at the piano, some woman hits on Vic, starts flirting. Then Melinda introduces them to each other, and Charlie thinks he's seen Vic before, but he denies it. As the party dies down, Vic loses sight of Melinda. The friend suggests that she's upstairs. Vic isn't thrilled with this news, but drags himself up the stairs anyway. Just then, Melinda pops out of the downstairs room in her bathing suit, followed by Charles. Well, it got even hotter, but I'll tell you about that later. Oh bro, it got even hotter. Melinda and Charlie go for a swim in the pool, and Vic, as usual, is watching them. He's standing there, watching them have fun in the water, and then bam, all of a sudden it starts raining. Everybody runs away, but Vic and Charlie stay behind. They go out on the balcony. Vic sees Charlie splashing in the water, but Charlie doesn't notice him. Vic went into the kitchen. He wanted to eat some cookies, but the baking tray was hot, and he burned his hand. Melinda suddenly panics because she doesn't see Charlie among the guests. She goes out on the balcony, and bam, she sees him in the pool, not moving. The guys pulled him out, tried to revive him, but it was all for nothing. Charlie was already dead. Melinda's hysterical. They take her inside. The police arrive. They start questioning her. And then Melinda claims that Vic killed Charlie. Everyone's shocked. She's hysterical. The police take her away to talk to her. And Vic is called to testify. Can you imagine? They're driving home, and she's in tears over her friend's death. And Vic asks her if she's afraid of him. And she tells him she's not, because he's doing everything for her. Then Vic's riding his bike, and he's thinking about that night. How he and Charlie fought in the pool, how Melinda and the piano player. It's been hard on him. He pulls into his garage, and then he notices a car following him, just out of the blue. And as he's taking his daughter to school, he meets the writer's wife. She tells him that her husband is spreading gossip that Vic is responsible for Charlie's death. But she doesn't approve of his actions. She didn't even want to invite Melinda to the party, knowing her temper, but Vic calms her down and invites them to dinner. And so the Wilsons arrive at the Van Allens. Melinda is happy to have guests. Vic shows Don his snails and asks him not to spread rumors that he's at Charlie Delilah's UB because it would ruin his reputation. Don is surprised that Vic doesn't care about his reputation and asks him straight up how the pianist died and if he's willing to take a lie detector. Vic agrees, and Don thinks he's weird for doing so. And then Vic is walking down the street and sees the very car that was following him. It's empty, but he sees a camera in a cafe across the street. and in the cafe is his wife with some guy. Vic goes in there, sits down with them, and it turns out that Melinda is introducing him as a therapist. But after the conversation, Vic realizes the type is a private detective. Bro, that was something else. I mean, just think of all the twists and turns and mysteries. But I'll tell you everything, don't worry. Dog, here's what happened next. Vic went to the Wilsons to find out why Dawn hired a dude to spy on him. Kelly's shocked at what her husband did, and Dawn starts making excuses, saying he had nothing to do with it. But Vic holds the cards. He has proof. He decides to follow Melinda and spots her with a new beau. This guy, Tony, is waiting for her at the wheelbarrow, and they go for a walk together. And now this. Trixie asks Vic if it's true that he killed Charlie. The rumors are all over the neighborhood. Vic assures her that nothing of the sort happened, but Trixie doesn't believe it, and he says it will be their secret. Vic puts his daughter to bed while Melinda is downstairs chatting on the phone about her trip to Brazil. Then Melinda takes a bath, and Vic tries to talk to her, but she ignores him. So much for ignoring. And then Vic invites this new buddy of Melinda's, Tony, over to his house. The guy is fascinated by Vic's snails. They move into the kitchen, and Melinda comes out to meet Tony. She starts acting defiant and babbles that Tony was her first man in America. Tony is in a wild stupor at such revelations in front of her husband. To ease the tension, Tony suggests adding snails to the dish, but Vic is against it. And then Mel encourages him to collect snails, but Vic quips, "If you eat the wrong snail, you could get poisoned." At dinner, everyone is having fun except the host. Melinda takes Tony upstairs, and Vic follows them. Melinda sees him on the stairs as she flirts with Tony. The next day, Vic meets Tony on the street and tells him that Melinda wanted to show him something. He offers him a ride, and they chat about Melinda on the way. Vic is racing like crazy and brings Tony to the ravine where he gets rid of him. Checks to see if the guy is dead and hides the evidence. At home, Vic is in a good mood and asks Mel about Tony, and she is confused. As they eat lunch, Melinda tries to get Tony on the phone and then is going on a picnic with her daughter to that very gorge and calls Vic. "Hey bro, listen to the way things went down after that." Vic and Melinda and Trixie have such a picnic in nature. Real family time. Vic suddenly remembers how much he loves his wife, and she starts warming his hands to make him happy. He gives her a picture book, and it touches Melinda so much that she gets emotional. Trixie, meanwhile, is chasing a puppy and almost falls in the water, but Vic manages to catch her, and then he sees a body floating downstream. He, of course, didn't want his family to see this, so he decides to get them home quickly, and Melinda freaking forgot her scarf there at the picnic site. Vic promises he'll pick it up in the morning. Vic gets home, and Mel asks him to spend the night in her room. He agrees without much thought, and they lie down together. Melinda strokes his face, tells him she loves him, and they end up having a passionate night. In the morning, Vic goes to the gorge, and Melinda goes looking for him and finds Tony's wallet in the room with his snails. The wife is shocked. Vic is in the gorge cleaning up the evidence, and a writer comes up, watching him. She asks him what he's doing there, and he says he's looking for his wife's scarf. Just then, the writer pulls out that very scarf and goes down to Vic. Vic panics and gets on his bike and chases after the writer. Melinda is at home packing her suitcase, but Trixie isn't thrilled with the idea. She doesn't want to go anywhere. She throws the suitcase down the stairs and drowns it in the pool. Vic catches up with the writer at this point and jumps out right in front of his car. Dawn fails and falls into the river. Back home, Vic meets Melinda, who tells him about Tony's papers. To keep her family safe, she decides to burn them. That's the story, bro. It's like a roller coaster up and down, and there's no telling how it's gonna end. And so, friends, we have come to the end of our journey through the dark and tangled currents of the movie Deep Waters. It's a story full of intrigue, forbidden passions, and dark secrets, making us wonder what people are capable of in the name of love and possession. We have seen how the intertwining of love and madness has led to unpredictable and sometimes tragic consequences. Vic and Melinda Van Allen showed us the dark side of human relationships, where boundaries are blurred and the game of marriage turns into a dangerous game with life. If you enjoyed our dissection of this mesmerizing story, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more interesting movie reviews and analysis. And now I want to ask you a question that I hope will spark a lot of discussion in the comments. Do you think that there was true love between Vic and Melinda? Or was it all just a game, where each one used the other for his own purposes? Enter your thoughts below, and let's try to solve this mystery of human relationships in deep waters together. Thanks for being with us, and see you on the channel.